Hey folks, and welcome back. You know, every story has a beginning. Our latest story, in the form of a 25-day trip off the beaten path in Thailand, starts on New Year's Day. Only hours after this fireworks show, our journey began. So let's jump into this series with episode 1, where we look at a somewhat different sort of symbiotic relationship going on all over the country of Thailand.
We're on our way up to Lopburi today. And driving up here this morning, we've been on the road about 2.5, 3 hours. And we're stopped for something to eat. And on the way up here today, I thought, this is a perfect opportunity for the entire trip. I'm going to eat nothing but Thai food. It's going to be fully Thai food for the whole trip. So there's that. We'll start off with this, I'll show you. And then we'll head up to Lopburi.
That's right. Less than a 2-hour drive due north of Bangkok, we arrive at our trip's first destination, the provincial capital town of Lopburi. The city is small and quiet and somewhat surrounded by mountains, yet Lopburi does not make it onto the list of attractions for most tourists. It is known, though, for its many Khmer ruins which dot the skyline, as well as monkeys. Many, many monkeys, which, at least to some extent, own the city streets at times and seem to call some of the old ruins home, but we're not here to visit them. We have no time to monkey around. We've come for a different reason. So meet Mr. Pon. He and his associates are what I call rat men. You see, they visit local farms and help eradicate a common pest that would otherwise destroy the crops. So we met up with Mr. Pon and the rat men at his residence, where we gathered some provisions. We needed to head out to the rice fields to do what we're going to do today and learn what we're going to learn, but we need some supplies first. Also, V wants to, she's not that interested in the rats, by the way, but V wants to make cow lambs while we're out there. I'll show you what they look like here. This is a store, though, that sells the bamboo that they're cooked in. They've got a great selection of bamboo here, and they'll cut it up to order for us. But they also make cow lambs here. There you go. They're bamboo stuffed with rice and beans and coconut milk. We'll see all that. She'll make those while we're out there, but first, we're going to need the bamboo to do that with, so first stop was to buy some bamboo. We got like 50 baht worth. We'll also need some other stuff, like these banana leaves. That'll help with the cow lambs, plus some other functions for those banana leaves as well. So the team stopped and trimmed a couple trees on the way, and then it was time to head out to the depths of the rice fields.
So we've arrived to Lopburi, the province anyway. We were briefly through the city. We had to get some supplies before coming out here into the middle of nowhere. We're actually a little bit close by Singburi, but it's in between everything. And this is it. This is us. This is our 5-star accommodation for the night. But this is a beautiful place. We're kind of in the crossroads of a couple rice fields here. And as beautiful and serene as it is, there's another problem out here. There's a big problem out here. And our new friend here is the solver of said problem.
So it was hot this day. The first thing I did was fashion one of the scraps of bamboo into a little cocktail glass there. But it was refreshing. But while V made the cow lambs, she started to make it. It's going to be a long process. They're just cutting the bamboo and and getting all the rice and beans in there together. There'll be some other ingredients that go in later, but the preliminaries are done. But while she's doing that, some of the rat men are getting ready to go out for their trap laying, their afternoon trap laying, and gathering all the equipment and the traps. And I guess I'll go with them and see how that all unfolds and how that's done.
Funny thing is, these guys asked if I wanted to wear a hat out here. I said, okay, I'll humor you, I'll wear a hat. But what I really wanted is a pair of boots like what they have. I just got on tennis shoes. It's in the afternoon, it's 4 o'clock, say, I don't know, but around there. They're setting rat traps now. There's 2 teams out. I'm with one of the guys. The rats will eat them out of house and home here. When I talk about rats, I talk about big rats. I always thought the city rats were like the biggest. I always thought the country rats were meek and small because they didn't have all that good city garbage. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I mean, I've seen big rats in New York City, Washington, D.C., places I've been. And yeah, there's big rats, but here, I think at least this big. So they'll look for signs. So places where they've eaten and left leavings, like snails, that they'll dig in here. Little snails will grow in the rice beds. They'll dig those out, a bunch of them, hoard them up in one area and sit there and eat them. They leave the shells. He's found those. Piles of excrement, things like that. And then he'll set the traps. I'm going to show you how difficult this is, the first one we did today. Now this guy is a pro. He's out here almost every day doing this. I saw him on Facebook because he posts his catch of the day. He'll have 10 rats the size of cats.
So time out a minute, I'll show you what I saw. There you go, 96,000 followers on this Facebook page. To say there is a little local interest in this is an understatement. There is a lot of local interest in this, and their Facebook page has their, I don't know, their catch of the day, their little tips and tricks, and you can buy the traps on there, different things like that. This is one of the traps right here. They cost about $1. They have a string that you can tether it off so they don't walk away. But we'll get into a little bit of that. There are basically two kinds of bait that Mr. Pon uses. Now, one is pretty straightforward. There you go. Dry corn, just cut right off the cob, a piece of corn cob. And all of the baits are sprayed with his very own concoction. It's basically a perfume, some sort of attractant perfume. But the other bait is a little bit more convoluted. That's this one. Now, this essentially, from my understanding, is tree sap, some sort of tree sap. And with this one, he actually needs to kind of heat the outside of the tree sap up. I guess that puts like a little crust on it. But this is good bait because it holds the attractant well, and they can reuse it time and time again. And you'll see this one gets actually a different flavor of attractant for the tree sap.
And anyway, he knows what he's doing. And the first trap snapped in his hand. So this is not easy to set these traps. I could never do one. Like I said, he's a pro, and it happened to him. And I've never really seen traps like this before. They're a little bit different, but they're big. You can see how big the traps are, would kind of indicate how big the critter is that they're going after. At least to me it does. But yeah, who knew that was a problem? Who knew that was an issue? With everything out here, that seems to be their #1 enemy. So here's the deal though, they only come out at night. Or that's when they feed, and that's when he'll be able to get them. But you set the traps in the afternoon like we're doing now, and then they'll come back and check them at night, and we'll see. Or maybe it's first thing in the morning. It might be first thing in the morning. I don't know that we're going to be traipsing around here after dark. It might be like first light, because our camp is just right over there with our trucks.
How naive I was. We absolutely will be traipsing around after dark. But anyway, I mean, look right here. He found this area. You can see the rice grains scattered about there. This is where some have been feeding. They just sit in there, find a spot, and start munching away. I thought that was a rat hole. He said, no, that's a crab. That's a little black crab that lives here. They use those in the making of som tam. If you've had papaya salad, you might be familiar with that. I also noticed what he does is he put stapled a little white piece of paper to some reeds there, and that will be very important later because that marks the location of each trap.
So the sun's setting here. So altogether, the two teams of guys laid approximately 50 traps. They mark them with a little piece of paper. We were going to camp out right here tonight, but there's a better spot as soon as the duck wagon leaves. There's a wagon. Apparently they move the ducks from this field to another field or something. As soon as the duck wagon leaves, we can go and park up there. It'll be a little bit more room. It's not much room to really park back here. It's all these rice fields and then just these narrow paths like the one I'm on. Of course the road, but it's only one lane, so if you park on the road, nobody can get by. So you need like a place to pull over, and they just don't have it. We just got to the place we're going to camp tonight. They got a pump over here pumping this water from this ditch into the rice field. I hope that's not going to run all night. Can't sleep with that pump running. But anyway, we'll somehow make do. I got a banana. He's over there digging a hole for the cow lambs. They'll build a fire in that hole, and that's where they'll cook them as soon as he's done digging that up. There is somewhat of a shack here, but I guess I'm sleeping in the only appropriate place to sleep. They don't call it the bed of a pickup truck for nothing.
So the ducks are all gone. Turns out they actually go to some kind of barn overnight. They'll be back in the morning. But there was plenty of work to do when we got out here finally to the campsite. V's over there preparing the cow lambs to be fired, and there's firewood to gather, and there's a lot of things to do. Yeah, sometimes if there's a sequence in a video and there's like some work to be done, people say, it doesn't look like you did any of the work, everybody else did the work. Well, of course, because I'm filming when I'm filming, I'm filming them doing the work, but when I'm not filming, I help out. I think, suffice it to say, I probably did my share. At one point, they ran out of coconut milk, and I volunteered to drive into town to get more. So there you go. That's it. That's doing my part, I guess. But that's one of the key ingredients here: coconut milk, and then a pinch of sugar and salt. Maybe a little bit more than a pinch of sugar there. But that all gets spooned right into the bamboo where the rice and the beans went prior, and then the banana leaf is kind of like a cork to the bamboo, and that will steam in there. And apparently they're going to take all night to cook. They cook very slow, and they don't get directly put in the fire. There's hot coals and fire surrounding them. Maybe the flames might lick the bamboo a little bit, but they're cooked very slow, suffice it to say that. But at least we had an assortment of beverages. But look at this. Somebody joined the party, an uninvited guest. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look like something you should touch. But all sorts of things like that out here. But we started another little campfire just to boil a big bucket of water and cook the rest of the rice. You see there was extra rice and beans left over from the cow lambs, and that will just be eaten without the sweet coconut milk and the sugar and all that. That will just be eaten with our evening meal, which they're shortly here to prepare. But there you go. You can see the fire trenches there kind of surrounding the bamboo, the cow lambs, and they're cooking while V is making up some som tum for dinner. I don't know, dinner, snack, a late lunch, whatever. I told this guy his cup was not as creative as my cup. I thought my cup was better, but I guess at the end of the day, they both do the same function. So a little dinner. Now, at this point, I'm thinking a little dinner and off to bed, but that would not be the case. There was still a lot to do at night, but the rice got done, so nobody's going to go hungry out here. Plenty of food to eat. That rice there, that sticky rice with the beans, really fills you up. And yeah, those coals glowing red hot now, they will keep the cow lambs cooking. They set me up a tent here in the back of the truck. So there you go. That's the accommodation. And hey, what's not to like? The guys are going to sleep in that shack. That was one of their tents, but now that we got the shack, they'll sleep there. But there'll be time for sleeping later. We've got to go out and we've got to go start checking these traps. And now that it's dark, see if there's any rats about.
That was intense. The bugs, I was third one back. These guys are stirring up all the bugs in the rice fields and they're just attacking me. But the first series of traps, I think they got at least a half dozen or more. So it was much easier during the daytime.
So about 30 minutes in, I guess, I got a telephone call from V, who was a little bit concerned about ghosts. She was left at the campsite all by herself, but we came back shortly thereafter and she was fine. So, now for the processing. The first thing to know is none of this goes to waste. And this is what I'm talking about, a symbiotic relationship here. Rat cost approximately 3 times more than chicken in the local markets. It's eaten here. There's several ways they'll cook it. They will cook some of this here tonight, process some and cook it. The remainder will probably go to market. But no matter how you cook it, the first step is to blowtorch all the fur, all the hair, and that kind of kills any external parasites, bacteria, anything like that. So I believe also you could blanch or boil it real quick, some way to clean the outside so that's the product that you're looking for right there. After that's done, after the outside's done, then it's basically cleaned and prepared like any other small game. They're going to cook this a couple different ways out here. They're going to grill some. They're over there fashioning a, I don't know if that's bamboo or some other wood, but they're fashioning like a barbecue spit. So some will just be grilled, just like that. Blowtorched, cleaned, and then grilled. And I think that's probably the purest form. Now they will process some others, and that will be cooked in a dish, kind of like a Thai food dish. There'll be all kinds of ingredients put in it, and they're actually going to cook that. I know he's preparing it in a wok there, but he's actually going to cook that in the bamboo just like they did the cow lambs. So you can see garlic, there'll be peppers that go in there, and all the Thai favorite ingredients. So I think preparing it that way, you don't really get a taste for the actual meat. With all the chili, it's going to be spicy. The garlic, all that stuff, lemongrass in there, you're not going to really taste it. So I thought, well, I'll try the grilled portion. Now, I think trying it is almost like a rite of passage on your first trapping experience out here. They insisted that I try some of the food they prepared, and that's what I did. Like I said, I opted for the grilled, at least to start with, because I just thought the other dish would taste more like any other Thai dish, and I wouldn't get the pure essence.
I'd be lying if I said it didn't taste like chicken, but it's got a gamey flavor to it. You can tell it's a wild, even though it's grain fed because they're living in the rice. It's got a kind of a gamey flavor, like you get with wild game, and that's what it is. But other than that, the texture and the initial flavor that goes in your mouth like chicken.
So there you go. I was thinking, if you're going to try rat, Would you rather try one out of a New York City dumpster or out of a rice field somewhere? So I think maybe the rice field rat might taste a little better. But we had quite an evening out here, and after the little feast they put out, it was time to get some sleep.
So it was quite a night out here. Just this morning they went out and made the rounds. I was still asleep. It wasn't even it wasn't even sunrise yet, and they were out making the rounds, and a dozen more rats. So this has been going on for ages. I think it's almost a kind of a custom or tradition. It's kind of baked in the cake here. It's required. The farmers, it's the bane of the farmers out here. That and not getting enough rain, but one you can do something about, the other one you can't. So, you know, they're only a problem when the rice is growed up full, when it has the grains on it. It takes about 3 months for the rice to get those grains on it. With the young rice, when it's the real nice bright green like you have over here in the distance, there's nothing to eat so much. But when it starts turning brown, almost looks like wheat, like over here behind this truck, that's where all the rats will be, and that's where they set the traps. And then here, it's getting there. This is almost to that point behind me. So all of these plots are different stages of rice. They all might be a month apart or something like that. So I was really surprised to learn that it was 250 baht a kilo in the market. That's the price of decent beef here. Chicken, 60 baht, 70 baht all day long at the markets. Chicken breast, I mean, you know. Shrimp, it's about on par with shrimp, I guess. Decent, large shrimp would be 250 baht a kilo, and that's what rat costs. I wouldn't give that for it. I tried it. It's a little bit stringier than chicken, greasier than chicken as well, but it has the same, I don't know, that's the closest thing that it's comparable to. But the gamey flavor, I'm not a big fan of the gamey flavor. But I realize out here, it's part of the way of life. And if unchecked, if left unchecked, they actually probably wouldn't be able to do what they do out here. So they breed so fast, they multiply so fast. If it wasn't for guys like these guys, they're all ex-military, by the way. One's an artillery guy, one's an ex-commando. One guy spent time in Fort Knox, Kentucky being trained. Great guys, great salt of the earth people. I said yesterday I was going to eat Thai food for 30 days straight while we're out here on this trip. That's before I ate rat. If I see a burger stand, I'm stopping.
So the cow lambs finally got done. I think the fire might have went out overnight. It had to be re-stoked in the morning, and they had to cook a little bit longer. But V did a great first attempt at trying to make these. A little bit of room for improvement, but they were good overall. We enjoyed them, and we gave them away as gifts during our trip. But anyway, I discovered we had a visitor overnight. This little guy crawled up into the door jamb of the truck. I opened the door, and there he was. I'm not sure how he got in there, but He's just chilling away in there, so we'll just leave him alone. This tent, I got to tell you, it's not my tent. It belonged to one of these guys, but no tent poles or anything. It just folds up and goes in a bag and then springs out whenever you need it. Brilliant thing. I might get one of those. These guys will get 10 to 12 kilos of rat per day. That's per day out of these fields. And they'll eat some, and some will go to market, but none will go to waste. If you like this sort of thing, I will put a link. Mr. Pon has his own YouTube channel, and he also sells the bottles of attractant, and I believe he also sells the trap. So if you want to follow along, if you like that, there'll be a link down below. Be sure to tune in this weekend as we continue our trip. We'll pick up the bike and head up north. But for this one, I've got to go ahead and leave it right here. And as usual, I'll thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.